very intimate episode of the Lake Erie Library. Beth and I are sharing a blanket with Spider-Man all over it.
Have more of it, like.
Well, it doesn't. I'm a victim of physics. Listen, Hulk, calm down. Don't need to rip the microphone stand off the table. Now, Beth, I know I said this is an intimate moment, but you don't need to get that excited. Looks like the tiny cymbals that, like, the creepy toy monkeys bang together. It's so scary. Did I ever tell you about the time in junior high when I was tuning my violin and the string snapped and hit me in the face?
No, but
it was right here.
Did it break skin?
It sure did.
Oh my god, because those are metal.
Yep.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had the same junior high orchestra teacher. Probably
Miss G?
Yes. Well, doctor. When I
don't know if she was a doctor when I had her.
I don't know if she actually had a PhD, but I assume
it was more of a Seuss type thing.
I assume that she did.
You can get a doctorate in music studies, I'm sure.
But she was tuning my violin, and she tuned the strings so tight.
She was tuning a violin, listeners.
Ooh, I don't like that. And she broke the back of it where the neck was. She broke like my violin so that it like went and like it was so I had to borrow a violin for months because it took forever for it to get fixed, and then it did that same thing again years later, and it was so sad because I was like, I like my violin.
I like my violin.
Oh god. So yes, this is an intimate episode, and then
I don't know if we should talk about it anymore. You got real excited and ripped your microphone off the table.
That was.
I understand. Spider-Man is very hot, but like, rein it in, Beth. You're a married woman. You're a mom, okay?
Tobey Maguire is like my Spider-Man, but I love I love like comic book Spider-Man. I'm like, and I love Jake Johnson's voice as Spider-Man.
Hot nerd and a unitard who's good with his hands and is really bendy. What's not to like?
The description for this is gonna be like, it's Valentine's Day and the librarians are horny.
Britta is too horny to record this today. She needs to go to internet horny jail. Because now that we've brought this up, I'm just going to be looking up pictures of Oscar Isaac and dreaming of a live-action Miguel.
Amazing. Would be okay with that. Yeah. Anyways.
I respect Zendaya too much to talk about Tom Holland that way anymore.
That's fair. Though the internet doesn't respect
Andrew Garfield, though. Call me.
He was not my favorite Spider-Man, but I respect the whole, like, I'm going to wear my uniform and a pair of sweatpants with the band, like, you know, how he has the sweatband, like, rolled down.
I know that.
Yes.
I know.
I'm like, I see you, and I respect it, and I will ogle you respectfully.
A hoodie under a jacket, like, that layering is, to me, what, like, the gray sweatpants and backwards baseball cap is to a lot of other women.
Gotcha. Yeah, it is, can we just, small aside, very rude of you, dear listeners that are male, who just get to casually wear sweatpants and make women go, like, feral.
In your stupid eyelashes that you're not even doing anything with, and they're so long and, like, naturally curled. Kindly go kick rocks with no shoes on.
It's like, I'm sure it's like cute aggression that I feel about those things, but like in the same world of like I get irrationally angry because I'm like, ugh, you are so stupidly attractive. And I've told my husband this before, like maybe we're not getting along. Not that we like, are unhappy, but like maybe we're not getting.
Wait, what? Spill the tea. Wait, let me turn off the microphone.
No, maybe we're like not. But then my husband will go and get a haircut, and I'm like, God damn it! Because then I see him and I go, ugh, why are you? Ugh. And he's like, what? I'm like, you're just so stupidly attractive right now, and I can't even be mad because I'm just, Yes, I'm glad we're married, but I'm so irritated that you're so attractive with your haircut.
I just want to fight everyone now. This is like, if I'm having like romantic feelings towards someone, I'm so uncomfortable now. Listen, it's trauma. Anyone have a good therapist? Send me their information in a comment or a DM. I probably need to talk about a lot of things, but I am just like, no, I'm gonna run the other direction. I'm gonna outrun the feelings. I'm gonna fight it off. I'm like Louise on Bob's Burgers, and I'm like, I gotta slap Boo Boo in the face.
I mean, I am happily married and like content with my stuff. I'm a Capricorn, so I have to
I saw my reflection
in the Spookies poster.
Yes. I had my hoodie up and I went to the bathroom and I looked like David the Gnome, and I've been wearing it for minutes, and Beth did not tell me how stupid I looked.
Yours were cold, that's all. I get it.
I'm just trying to keep my warmth from leaving my head.
Yeah, I'm not gonna judge you.
Later, she's going to be like, oh my God, husband, Britta looked so stupid. And I just had to look at her the whole time we were recording. No. Here, I secretly took a picture while she was disassociating and going on like a weird ADHD ride in her brain. And it'll just be me like, like a weird version of like Bigfoot walking in the distance.
I was going to say, you look like the hyperbole and a half. Like when you do that. Yeah. So hello listeners, welcome back to the Lake Erie Library.
Welcome back.
I'm done introducing ourselves because if you've joined us this far, you should just know who we are now.
They're like, yeah, it's very obvious who's making stupid noises right now. In my brain, it's like a Barry White song, and I'm going to listen to it, and it's going to be like...
Again, like, talking about our dynamic, I'm perfectly fine with being the straight man.
Well, at least one of us is straight.
My cheeks hurt.
My cheeks hurt from Smiley. Oh my gosh. Oh man. This is gonna be a weird episode.
Yeah, let's talk about some violence.
Sex and violence. I don't want to sing the rest of it because we'll get sued. That's a song. It's a good song. Is that Scissor Sisters? I think it's Scissor Sisters.
That sounds right. Yes, I think it is Scissor Sisters.
Speaking of music, too, there is a band named this.
Yes. Yes, they're Irish.
They are Irish.
I listened to them. Dublin. I listened to them during, this is very, like, crusty white bread of Beth to do, but during March, to get ready for St. Patty's Day, I like to listen to Irish, like, rock music.
She listens to Shipping Up to Boston on repeat for days at a time.
I do love the Dropkick Murphys.
I lost my leg!
That's not my favorite Dropkick Murphys song, though, but I do love the Dropkick Murphys a lot. I also just like that their one song is used for, like, The Departed, and it's just that beginning, like, the don't
do 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 don't do 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 do. Isn't that Shipping Up to Boston?
I think it's just that very beginning part where you're just like, woo! Especially if you're like old, like me and my husband are, and you put the menu on, and then you're just like, of the DVD menu, it just cycles through that, and it's so loud that you're just like, ah, like it's like when you're a kid and it's 3 a.m. and you fell asleep and the TV's playing like, it's Celine Dion just comes on and starts blaring, and you're just like, oh God, what time is it?
It still happens to me, but it's when I fall asleep watching Bob's Burgers, because for whatever reason, the intro music on Bob's Burgers is like 8 volume levels higher than the rest of the episode. So if you just have it running on like Hulu or whatever, and I like fall asleep before the end of an episode, then all of a sudden it's like, boom, boom, boom. Boop, doop, doo. And I'm like, oh God, Kujikopi's here to kill me.
Just getting old. Sleeping through stuff. So yeah, hello, welcome to the Lake Erie Library. Today, is love in the air? Is violence in the air? Obviously, sex is in the air. Thank you, Rihanna. I broke Britta. This never happens. Oh God. What do I do? I've never been in this position before. I'm not the funny
Go
one.
on without me. One of us has to live to tell our story. Oh. God, what was that laugh? Okay. All right. I'm locked in.
So, yeah, today, to celebrate Valentine's Day, or nearbouts Valentine's Day when this airs, we are bringing to you a special, movie. I just say movie because we're really talking about one story, but multiple movies of the same story.
Yeah.
Thank you, remakes.
It's not just a random compilation.
I don't feel like they're random. We have a theme. We stick to the theme.
Sometimes the theme is very loose. Is there snow? Yes.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, today we are talking about the movie My Bloody Valentine.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh no, that's next month. Sorry.
And yeah, again, there is a Irish rock band called My Bloody Valentine. So if
we're not talking about them though.
No, if you were to Google search it, you can look them up. They're good to listen to. I definitely
You're
rented
gonna want
their
to search for My Bloody Valentine film. Film. Film.
Oh. And yeah, there are 2 movies of this, so we will go over like the synopsis of each, and then once we go over kind of some of the basics and behind the scenes information of like production and stuff like that, then we're gonna get into the nitty gritty. So this is my spoiler, like telling you right now, we are going to have spoilers. Sorry, coworker Scissorhands.
But before you immediately turn this off, they're not coming yet. We will tell you when. There will be a long-winded announcement, probably with more sound effects from my face, telling you you're dismissed if you don't want spoilers.
Also, would just say, I'm sure you've seen these already, so why are you worried about? That's Beth being mean.
To one specific person.
Yeah. To all of you other dear listeners that we're not shout-outing, like, thank you. Shout-outing.
Screw that guy, but everybody else.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the movie or movies and you're just here to listen to us, carry on. But if you are into those movies and you've seen one but not the other, or you haven't seen either of them and you're just kind of beginning your slasher movie journey, we'll briefly go into the synopsis of them. And then if you're like, no, I don't want to know about the gory graphic details, then we will fair warn you again.
Then goodbye.
Go watch those, then come back. So far, our user retention is 100%. I'm feeling good about that. I feel like I just jinxed us.
Yeah, coworker Scissorhands is gonna go sabotage our hosting website so nothing goes up anymore.
Oh no!
This is his villain origin story.
So yeah, let's talk about My Bloody Valentine. I guess we'll start with the original and then we'll do the remake. I just want to start with, so when I watch these movies, the first one I saw was the remake.
Same.
And then I just recently watched the original, and I was told by husband, who had seen both of them, that the remake was better. Remake is better than the original, and I didn't realize. I knew I had read somewhere in my like slasher movie knowledge brain that it was Canadian, but I assumed it was set in America. So in watching this movie very recently, I went, they're very Canadian. They're not even hiding that they're Canadian. Isn't this supposed to be set in like Pennsylvania? Because my brain's like, the remake is set in Pennsylvania and is set like very much feels very Midwestern, like Pittsburgh area. So I guess I just assumed, which, you know, joke's on me. And so that was my running thought in watching the original is, man, everyone's like, it's a boot somewhere. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, I'm like, main character, you're not even hiding that you're Canadian. Like, you're super Canadian. I'm like, good God, some of the things they're saying is, wow.
I wouldn't, because I rewatched both of them recently, and when I was watching the original, I was like, it looks and it feels like it's older than the 80s. Like, it doesn't feel like an 80s movie. It feels like a 70s.
It's because they filmed it in like, I think late 79 into 80. Yes, they filmed it, I think. Filmed it into like 1980.
This says it began in September of 1980.
Okay. So it's always that few first years, beginning of the decade, where it's like fashion. We don't have it yet for our decade. So we're really just wearing stuff from the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, and costuming wise, like it's very like wide collars. Like somebody's got a vest over a dress shirt.
The one guy has an excellent mustache.
I love him. Hollis. Love him.
Same.
That's all I'll say for now.
Yeah.
Love Hollis. Love his outfit. Great. But yeah, the makeup is very like late 70s. Like even the girls that are wearing like there's like the more natural look where it's like, I'm not wearing makeup. And then there's like.
Yeah, the first girl that you see is wearing green eyeshadow.
Yeah, it feels very late 70s, like disco-y makeup. And it was like green eyeshadow with like that corally pink lipstick.
Mm-hmm.
And the saturation of colors, like it's like garish pinks and reds with like very bleak feels, kind of like it could be in the why I thought it was in the Midwest. Feels like it could be the Midwest, but it's also like that unsaturated 70s feel. So yes, I agree. It feels older than it normally does. Mm-hmm. So yeah, brief plot synopsis of My Bloody Valentine. I'll let you.
Yes, let me find the shortest one. Okay, the most generic plot synopsis ever for you. It tells the story of a group of young adults who decide to throw a Valentine's Day party only to incur the vengeful wrath of a maniac in mining gear who begins a killing spree. That is the most bare bones, non-spoilery summary. I will say that we're going to talk about the remake as well. They have very similar storylines.
Yes.
There is a little bit of differentiation. We will get to that when we get to the second movie, but that almost works for the second movie as well. Right.
And just briefly getting into like production and talking about kind of storylines for slasher movies. So this came 1981 is when it was released. So it was filmed in 1980. Just to put it in perspective of like slasher movie history, you have Black Christmas, which came out in 74. You have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which came out after that. You have Halloween, which came out in 78. So, and those were kind of the precursors to stuff, right? Like we know Halloween is really the first movie that really took off, defined the slasher genre. After that, in 1980, summer of 1980, you had Friday the 13th, which came out. You know, you have special effects in that movie with Tom Savini. Kevin Bacon gets an arrow through his throat. Like, you know, and we talked about that previously. So all of this is setting the stage for what I'm about to tell you. So you have this movie which came out, which is cashing in on the seasonal or holiday slasher movie. So it's like they came up with this idea of like, what holiday have we not touched yet? So why not Valentine's Day? That works out well. Like you got the, you know, like, I don't know, sex and violence, right?
Yeah.
Like
it originally had a totally different title too. It was
Right.
called The Secret, and they decided to change it to cash in on that.
Right. Which, I mean, let's be honest, if you were at Blockbuster 20 years ago and you saw The Secret on the shelf with a guy in mind, would you pick it up? Probably not. Probably not. It's like, but My Bloody Valentine, you're like, what's that? That's interesting. So that's also to say, so this came out after Friday the 13th. This also came out after John Lennon died in 1980. And so when Friday the 13th came out, it was, you gotta remember, it's the late 70s into the 80s. We got Reagan, like, we are conservative America. And these movies were just way too violent. Halloween, even though everybody's like, oh my God, Michael Myers, slasher movie, like, there's no blood in that movie. There's, like, no blood. But, like, Friday the 13th, there's blood. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of cool kills in that. I'll be honest with you, just as generically as possible, there's a lot of cool kills in My Bloody Valentine. But after the death of John Lennon, they blamed, like, violent media as, like, a reason why John Lennon was shot. So their solution, and when I say their, like, powers that be, is like, all right, we don't want to get any flack. We're going to cut a lot of these kill scenes. So the director says they cut like 8 or 9 minutes of the kill scenes. And since then, and when I say since then, I mean like by the time the remake came out, they did add like 3 or 4 minutes back. So the version I watched is the theatrical version, I believe, which was not a lot of kill shots.
They cut about 10 minutes out.
Mm-hmm. So my husband, who had seen it before, was watching it, and he's like, no, wait a minute. Because he has seen the version that added like 3 to 4 minutes of the kill scenes back in, and was like, no, they definitely showed this, and this. So we'll get into those later, but that I just want to preface that with kind of that background knowledge. So if you guys do want to watch it, if you're like, I just want to watch it straight, you can watch the theatrical version. It is available to like rent on streaming. If you want the special edition where you want to see, you're like a horror aficionado and you want to see those kill scenes, the version you're going to want to watch is, I think it's been released on like DVD, Blu-ray. You're going to have to like rent it from your local library.
That's what I did.
Because it's hard to find on streaming.
They packaged the release with April Fool's Day.
Did you watch that one?
No.
Okay. That also was another, we're going to cash in on that, which April Fool's Day is the superior to Mother's Day, which I did see, and that one is not great.
It's one of those DVDs where it's My Bloody Valentine on one side, and then you flip it over.
Yeah.
It's April Fool's Day on the other. But yeah, so they started filming in September of 1980 in an actual mine in Nova Scotia.
Which I think about, I was reading that, I was thinking about that. I was like, how scary would that be? Like,
and it had been closed for like 5 years already.
Like, can you just imagine? I did read that they cleaned it up.
Yeah, which was a problem because they were counting on it looking like a shitty mine that people worked in. So then they had to spend like $30,000 to repaint it and make it look how it did before they cleaned it.
But you also, I'm like, okay, so you guys did that, but it's still safe. Like, had they not cleaned it up, you would have been breathing in like, I don't know, something terrible.
Well,
Like,
and then the other thing that they like had to consider is because it's like 2,700 feet underground.
Right.
So like they had to take elevators up and down with all the
Right.
equipment all the time. So it took like hours to set up everything and to transport everybody down. And then also there are methane levels underground, which is a plot point in the movie.
Yes.
So then they had to take that into consideration with like, how much lighting can we use down here? Because we don't want to accidentally cause an explosion. Like, this feels like it should be like a cursed movie. Like, it feels like it should have like poltergeist levels of like, all of these people died during the filming.
But it obviously was
like,
fairly safe.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have any issues with that. For all of those things considered, I just keep thinking like, man, that should be like, you always hear, like, I read a lot about like Evil Dead and how like terrible, because that was like a shoestring budget and how terrible it was to like be on the set of that. Like people had to wear those terrible contacts in their eyes and they're like all white so you couldn't see what you were doing and stuff like that. And like the special effects guy was like boiling chicken bones so it stunk on set all the time. So they had this movie actually had a budget of $2.3 million. It was directed by George, do you want to Malaka?
I think maybe like Mahalka.
Screenplay by John Beard. Stars Paul Kellman, Lori Hallier, which you would know her from, she's also in one of the Star Trek shows. Neil Affleck, Don Franks.
I had to like Google Neil Affleck just to see if I'm like, are
related?
you like an uncle? Are you related to Ben? But no.
No.
Who knew?
Who knew? And then music by Paul Zaza. So fun fact is at the end of the film, there is a song, like an actual song that was made just for My Bloody Valentine, which is called like The Ballad of
Harry Warden.
Yes. Paul Zaza is like friends with the guy that wrote it. So it's only for that like movie.
He was like fresh out of like school too, so I feel like it was just like, hey kid, here's your big break. They probably paid him pennies.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure. Which I just thought that was funny though. Like, oh, so you just like, hey, how's it going, friend? You want to make a quick buck?
Right. Uncle Paul, can you get me a job? Yeah, and they apparently kept the identity of the killer secret from the cast so that nobody would be like playing up their part and giving it away until they shot the final scene.
I think that's really interesting. I will say, in a just basic plot point, this movie is a very unique slasher film in that, you know, normally in slasher movies, you don't get working class adults. Like, it's teenagers. At that point, all of the hit, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're teenagers. Halloween, Laurie Strode is like a junior or senior in high school. You know, Friday the 13th, she's a teenager working at a summer camp. And these are like, no, we're adults. Like, we're young adults working, making a living type of thing.
But I feel like they're not like adults. They're like late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, they're like, we can vote, but we still may live at home with mom and dad. Maybe I got my first shitty apartment. Mm-hmm. And they live in this very, very small town. It says like on the sign in the movie, it's like population 3,800. I'm like, like we're talking small town. And I
love the town is called Valentine Bluffs. Yes. And it's like little town, big heart. And there's like one of those like weird like running lights, like hearts that's growing on it.
Just the feel of this movie, it is a different feel for a slasher. And I was going to say, what makes this movie different is, you know, you do have slashers with kind of a whodunit feel, but this is one of the first movies of a whodunit. Like, it's kind of different than Friday the 13th where they're picking people off, because there's just good plot twists in it. And there's just a very good, like, who's doing this? Like, what is happening type of thing. And it has a very rich backstory to it. That's kind of the first 10-15 minutes of the movie is establishing the backstory. So that way you, the viewer, knows what's happening. So it almost feels like even the remake of, like, I did think watching the remake that at first I thought it was some sort of sequel because of the way that one reads. It's similar in terms of like the plot, but it just like this happened, this one incident happened, and then years later. So I was like, oh, is this just like picking up where like a loose remake / sequel? But that's just kind of how the movie works, is like you have this inciting incident, and then like 20 years later, this is where the story's picking up. So you feel like you're kind of in the middle of a sequel of this small town, but it is just the movie the way it is. I hope I explained it to you where you're like, I understand without giving anything away too much.
Right. So then the bare bones discussion of the sequel, which is, or not the sequel, the remake, is, this cracks me up because I had forgotten this until I rewatched it recently. It is technically titled My Bloody Valentine 3D. I forgot that it was a 3D movie. And then like I was watching it and I was like,
oh, no, you
oh,
can tell.
that's right. This is 3D.
Yeah.
Because there's so many stupid shots of like unnecessarily throwing things to people and like long sweeping shots of like a shotgun barrel going across the screen and like it would be pointing right at you or whatever. I was like, oh, that's right. I do remember that.
Unfortunately, in our lifetime, we went through the cyclical, like, so 3D movies were really popular in like what, the 70s, like late 70s. And then by the time the first My Bloody Valentine came out, they were like out of fashion. So for some reason in the late 2000s,
early 2000s,
yeah, okay, because I was gonna say, but in the 2000, yes, in the 2000s,
the aughts, if you will,
they decided that we're gonna make 3D a thing again, and I definitely remember going to see movies in 3D because I'd have to remember to put my contacts on because I'm a glasses wearer,
same,
and I would get so pissed if I forgot because I hate putting...
Did you try to put the glasses over your glasses?
Yes. And some movies, I'm like, and they upcharge like another $10 for these 3D movies so you can wear the dumb glasses. And some movies, like, I saw Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton movie in 3D, and I was like, this was not worth the extra money I paid to see this. But then I saw like the kids movie, Monsters vs. Aliens, and I was like, worth it. Like, worth it. So fun. And then there were certain horror movies. So one of the Resident Evils, I think it was Resident Evil Afterlife. That one was shot in 3D, which if you watch it now, you're like, oh, I see. She like loads like a shotgun with quarters because it's the apocalypse. So she's like run out of shells, which you're like, that feels weird. And then she shoots somebody and like the quarters come at you. And I remember seeing that in 3D and being like, excellent. Good use of 3D.
It's so obvious though when there's like a movie that was shot in 3D and then you're watching it not in 3D. Because the one that I always think of came out a year before this, because this came out in 2009. And the Journey to the Center of the Earth, starring Brendan Fraser and Josh Hutcherson, I think. That was also 3D. And I just remember it was like, oh no, I hope I don't drop this box of ping pong balls. And they like bounce everywhere. And then it's like, oh no, I have this like jokey can of worms thing. I'm totally gonna get my uncle with this. Like, it's just finding stupid things that could like pop out at the audience.
Right.
And that's like this, like there's a long shot of like a little French bulldog like running towards the screen at one point, and you know that it was like, so his big head would like stick out of the screen at you.
It's just, yeah. And I'm so glad that they stepped away from 3D movies because it's just too much.
Can you imagine if like Paranormal Activity was in 3D? Just that scene of her like standing and like staring at the bed for like hours, and she'd just be like floating in front of your seat.
But like I just, as a glasses goer, I'm like, thank God, because it's just so gimmicky. But I will say, having watched this as just a 2D movie, I am glad that like I watched it, and I feel like if I would have seen it in theaters I probably would have still had a good time. Like, I would have been like, best bang for my buck. great. Like, I loved all the things. I loved the miners. Oh God, what are those called?
Like a pickaxe.
The pickaxe. I loved the pickaxe going through the screen. It was amazing. 10 out of 10. Yeah. Also fun is this movie came out. I didn't see this one in theater. This movie came out around the same time as Friday the 13th. And I only remember that because I had seen my friend wanted to go see a scary movie for his birthday. So upon initial viewing, I was like, we know Friday the 13th. I was like, I haven't really. And we're like, yeah, let's go see Friday the 13th. My Bloody Valentine looks stupid. Especially the trailer. We're like, this looks stupid. And it's in 3D, stupid. And at the time, I did not watch Supernatural. I had not watched Gilmore Girls. So, like, all I knew was going in, this was like a Friday the 13th remake. And I was like, eh. And I was like, but that main guy was cute. Had no idea that like that was Jared Padalecki.
J-Pad.
And that everybody was like, oh my God. And that they were filming Supernatural. They took a break. They both got these movie roles. So that's why they both came out around the same time. Upon later years reflection, I wish I would have gone to see My Bloody Valentine because I think I would have had a better time watching that movie.
Well, it's weird to me because My Bloody Valentine came out in January of that year, and Friday the 13th came out in February, and it felt like they should have released in the opposite order. And I also remember that at that time, even though this is generally like regarded as like a decent horror movie, and that Friday the 13th remake was kind of panned.
Yeah.
At the time when it came out, like, this movie was a joke, and everybody was like, yeah, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And I just remember watching it and being like, oh, I feel so bad for Jensen that Jared's movie is doing better than his. Like, what must work be like now that they're, like, back on set?
Hindsight's 2020, guys.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate that Friday the 13th, but also, like, it's pretty hysterical trying to watch, like, 6'5" Jared Padalecki ride, like, a normal size, like, motorcycle because it looks like a child's toy.
Yeah.
So, anyway. So, yeah. So, this came out in January of 2009, which was my senior year of college. I was going through a lot at that time. And it, as Beth said, was shot in Pennsylvania, Southwest Pennsylvania, which is right close to Ohio and West Virginia. And they shot it there mostly because they had a great tax incentive for shooting in Pennsylvania at the time. That's why a lot of movies filmed in Philly, because you could make it look like other places. And they shot in like around the Pittsburgh area. And it was the first R-rated movie to be shot in real D 3D. Oh. And it was shot entirely digitally in 4K resolution. That's kind of impressive to me for like 2009.
Yeah. They too filmed with a mine, but it was a mine museum, which probably means it was infinitely safer than where they filmed in Nova Scotia.
So there was a sequel planned for this.
Yes, I read that.
And they canceled it in 2020. They had both, I guess, Todd Farmer and Patrick Lussier had both pitched a script for a sequel to Lionsgate, and they like just kind of like lost interest in it. And so it would have been a more psychological take on this and would have brought back survivors from it. And probably one of the reasons that it didn't go through is because they were going to kill off one of those survivors. So interesting.
Yeah. And because even though it made money, it was because it was like, I mean, it was shot on a budget of $14 million. So they had a nice budget. It made $100.7 million. So it's not like it flopped, but because it wasn't Friday the 13th money, they were like, yeah, we can do something else.
So it made $100 million. How much did Friday the 13th make? Less, $92.7 million.
Yeah, but they still made how many Friday the well, no more with J-Pad, but they still made a lot of Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah.
God, we just can't get enough of Jason.
Oh my God, Travis Van Winkle. Sorry, I just brought up the Wikipedia page for
Oh, we should talk about
2009
had a lot of, it was a star-studded cast. It had Jensen Ackles in it, which at the time, again, cashing in on Supernatural fame. Jamie King, Kerr Smith, Edie Galecki, Betsy Roone, Tom Adkins for all you horror girlies.
and Kevin Tay, who to me is forever the Weasel Weisel from Newsies, so I can't take him seriously in anything. Because every time I look at him, I just hear like Balin Dupree from Instagram's like scumbag.
Oh, this was released on my birthday in 2009. Fellow Capricorn, respect.
No, I'm not gonna be mean. I was gonna be like, yes, it was formulaic and generic, like a Capricorn.
It's
not
fine.
my words.
It's fine.
That was from a review.
Capricorns get so much hate, man. I know every sign of the zodiac.
I don't want to talk about it.
Every sign of the zodiac's like, Scorpios suck, Gemini suck, and I'm like, yeah, but unequivocally, like, because it's statistically like not as many people are born during Capricorn season. Like, that's just the way it is. I get it. That's when we're hunkering down, making babies, not having babies. There's just not as much about Capricorn. So when you're trying to like go to the store and find like, I don't know, they have all the other astrology signs. And then you're like, Capricorn, no, okay. Why are there 20 million things for Libra and Virgo and none for Capricorn? Did you sell all 3 Capricorn candles you had? Fine, Target. I guess I'll go somewhere else. We're just not meant to have nice things.
Again, if you have a good therapist, we both probably need to talk to someone about some things. Okay, I don't know if I have anything else to really get into that's not gonna get us into like spoilery territory. Other than like if you're like, wow, I listened to this just to support Beth and Britta, and this sounds too scary for me, but I'd like to do something along the vibes of this that's not scary, and then I will direct you to the American stage musical Floyd Collins about the man who was trapped in a cave and died. It's a bluegrassy sounding musical, and that's all I keep thinking of every time I watch these people go down in mines is I hear his little like yodely song.
Just in general, I will say like the premise of this movie is also pretty original. Like, there really haven't been a lot of mine movies, and probably because there's so many mining accidents like across like where we have mining at, like, and mining has since kind of grown out of fashion because
I think people have like as like we in Ohio have a lot of like hurt feelings about the Rust Belt and like the steel industry. Like the coal towns have a lot of hurt feelings about the move away from that that energy type. Right.
Yeah, it's definitely like things I think about because I'm like, you know, you're like, do these towns exist where like, you know, in the very beginning of like My Bloody Valentine, and this isn't really like, you see like the group of like young men going down in the mine and they come back up and they wash up for the day and then they go to the bar, and I'm just like, oh, do people just like go to the bar after work and drink a few and then go home to dinner, I guess?
Yes, people still do that.
Yeah.
We just don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. Well, again, when I went to Applebee's, which you'll know about in a previous episode, I saw people in work uniforms after work at the bar, and I went, oh, that still exists. Beth is just so sheltered.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever look at the Mexican restaurant across from the college near us on like a work night at like 6:30, like that parking lot is hopping. Everyone's there for some margs and some queso.
I did get asked if I wanted a margarita at Applebee's. So.
No, there is not. There's like no alcohol in there.
I was like, no, I'm good.
It's like $12 for like half a shot of alcohol. Don't buy alcoholic mixed drinks at chain restaurants. legally they are supposed to stiff you. Just go to a regular bar where they have like a normal liquor license and you can get proper drunk.
I did laugh though, because my tater tot, out of all the things on the table, we had, you know, the crayons.
Margarita!
It was like very into the big giant Applebee's display of like drinks, and then kept shooting the crayons down because it was like a pillar, like with an opening. So like kept shooting the crayons down the alcohol, and we're like, nope, no alcohol for you, but I get why you're interested. It's very bright and colorful.
It's very bright and colorful. It's like heavy duty cardstock. It looks like a building block that he can pick up.
Yep. So I get it. Anyways, back to I feel like
I think we've hit that point.
We're ready.
All right. So this is your okay, wait, hold on. I told you there'd be sound effects. All right, this is your official warning. Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead. Batten down the hatches. Wah, wah. Spoilers. Stop listening to this. All right, you've been warned. So now if you're mad at us, it's your own fault.
Yep. Yep, you're good. We're almost like 40. How are we this much into it already?
We talk a lot, Beth.
I guess so. So yeah, I guess starting with the first one.
Yeah, let's go back to 1981.
I again did not realize they were Canadian.
Can we talk about like oh god, I'm so sorry. I got too excited. The point I'm trying to make, Beth, is you know what gets me real riled up and ready to go? The black lung, Pop.
Yeah,
like,
the black lung.
Boy, do I want to go down in a mine and get it on.
Yeah, there's several instances of them having sex, which it wasn't super like, it wasn't like, I'm fully naked in a mine, but they're still like in a mine about like, ready to bone down.
Thing that happens is that the girl miner is like doing her sexy little strip tease out of her uniform in the mine, and she's like stroking his weird like oxygen,
the breathing, the
tube,
mask,
like,
the gas mask,
phallus. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is kind of kinky for 1981.
No, keep the mask on.
He's like, no. And then she still unbuttons his shirt. Like, she's like stroking him through his like little coveralls, which I was like, is this happening? What are we doing? Like, how far is this going?
Right. And then the follow-up to that is the just like casualist misogyny of all of the guys in the shower being like, yeah, well, you know, if you're gonna go all the way with her, you better have your stamina up. But I'm like, oh god, is she like, how many of them has she done her little striptease for? Like, good for her. We love empowered women, and she can do whatever she wants. But I hate that this is what they're doing afterwards, is like talking about it like that.
Yep.
Why are men?
running theme of 2024. Why are men? There is some sex in these movies. There's one couple towards the end of the movie that they go into like an engineer's room, and they are like having sex, and they are killed off screen. Like, I did not see it in the version, and my husband said he didn't remember it in the version he watched previous to that. But I was really tired when I was watching this, like really, really tired, and I said, instead of saying, when did they die? I said, what did I say? It was like, when did they get dead? When did they become dead? I don't remember that.
For why they no breathe.
And my husband started, it was like, what? It's like, when did they become dead? Like, my brain was like, not like, when did they die? When did they get killed? Like,
you just combined them.
Like, my brain just was like, like I could feel the gear just like stuck, and I was like, I'm doubling down. When did they become dead?
He go by when?
And running commentary was just, my god, so the main character TJ was just kind of his like, because I really thought that they were trying to be Midwestern. So I was like, man, he is not even trying to hide his Canadian accent. Like, it was real thick in places.
Got it.
And, you know, when we're talking about,
Hey, we were just talking about this, all right? We were just talking about how we don't know when he got dead, you know? Oh gosh, I interrupted you. Continue your thought.
It's all right. So we didn't really dive in. So the premise of the story, which this one is different, and I would say this is darker than the remake, is that you have the first kill scene, which is the girl doing the weird sexy striptease, and then she's immediately like impaled on like a pickaxe. And she has like a little heart. I think it's supposed to be a tattoo, but it clearly looks like it's just drawn on there.
Like it's drawn on with a Sharpie.
Yeah.
It's like probably like a really, like one of the other miners probably gave it to her a shitty tattoo.
Yeah. And so like she's laid on like this pickaxe through her little heart tattoo. And that's like My Bloody Valentine. And it's like a really cool font. And then they talk about like the legend of Harry Warden, which is like so they're having this Valentine's dance, and this small town has not had this dance in 20 years, and the reason they haven't had it in 20 years, and they go through this backstory, is because a group of miners, there was like 7 of them, and 2 supervisors were down in the mine, and the supervisors were like anxious to get to the dance, so they weren't checking like the methane levels. The mine explodes, leaving them all down there. They finally find them. Harry survives, but he had gone mad down there, and he resorted to cannibalism to keep himself alive.
I think he ate them to survive,
right.
And that caused like a psychotic break.
Right. So, and that's not super graphic, but they do like show him eating an arm, and then they said, and then the next year he was he like in a coma or something like that, or
so that didn't happen yet. So he came back the next year,
right.
And he killed the 2 supervisors.
Right, he kills the 2 supervisors,
cuts out their hearts.
You know what? Fair,
yeah,
like entirely their
labor
fault.
Versus management. I get it.
Like, yeah, it was like, okay,
yeah,
fair enough, buddy. He takes the hearts that he ripped out and he puts them in Valentine's boxes, and it is essentially like, if you guys do anything for Valentine's Day, I'm gonna come back and kill people.
And then he gets sent to a mental facility.
So that's where he's at. And then they're like, it's been 20 years. What could go wrong? And like when we say like Valentine's threw up in this small town, like Valentine's threw up in this small town for decoration. I did say to my husband, I said, some of the cutouts they have, I'm like, I want them, because I do have all those holiday cutouts. You've seen them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh man, I really want them. They're kind of creepy, but kind of cool.
It looked like there's an opening shot of like when the miners are all like rushing to get downtown, because like all the girls are like setting up for the dance,
right.
And all the guys are like hooting and like the one guy runs out with his pants like not even on yet. It's so dumb.
Was that Howard? I think
so.
Yeah.
And they are like going down like the main street, and there's all of those things
they're
hung
like
across the road,
and they're like barreling down there. I'm like, oh my god, someone's gonna get in an accident.
Yeah. But like it looks like they just like, instead of taking down like the Christmas garlands, they were like, all right, I don't know, what's a Canadian name? All right, Glenn, climb on up there, okay? And you just put like a big heart over Santa's face, and then like later we'll like take them all down when we put up the Easter stuff, but we'll just tape it over there right now. Oh, great job, buddy. Like that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of like Prancer or like A Christmas Story, of them driving during Christmas, but it was just hearts everywhere.
Yeah, hearts everywhere. On windows, they had like giant cutouts of like cupids and hearts and crowns and all sorts of stuff. And the Valentine boxes they use for like to put the hearts. First of all, like I think that's about an accurate size for a human heart. It might be slightly bigger, but about an accurate size they use for a human heart. It's like the size of a fist. But the boxes they use, I was like, man, what kind of candy are they storing in these Valentine? They're very frilly, fancy Valentine. Like, if someone were to give me a fancy, I'd be like, ooh, what kind of gourmet chocolate did you put in this box? Because that's not how Valentine's boxes look now. We don't care about presentation.
Like not a Whitman sampler situation here.
So when they have those and they're like these fancy frilly boxes and they open them, I'm like, first of all, how is the heart blood not dripping out of this box already? Does a few times, but not like a lot.
There's not a lot of blood in it though.
No.
Like, it's just on the heart.
Right.
So that when they touch it, it comes off on their hands.
And then, so they use these like giant frilly boxes, which I think is impressive, but I'm also like, where do you just buy blank Valentine boxes ahead of time?
They're bespoke candy boxes, handmade in Montreal. This is this is only like the most niche, like maybe two of you who listen to this regularly probably watch Below Deck, but this is my Captain Glenn impression because he is a Canadian guy. It's like, I'm really mad at you guys, all right? I'm furious. Can you tell in my voice how furious I am? I'm so angry with you. Oh my gosh. I've never been this angry in my life.
So, yeah, like these boxes that they get, the chief of police, no, the mayor gets,
it's fine. I lost them when I got here, so they're just twinsies now.
Oh.
So I just rip off my fake fingernails while Beth's talking.
So the mayor gets like a fake heart, or not a fake, a real heart, and the chief of police is with him, and they immediately turn around, which the most terrifying part of this movie was for my husband and I when we were watching it. There's a dog that comes running out and chasing the truck as it's turning around, like, and the sirens are blaring, and we were both like, and I was like, do you think that was like a real, like, do you think that's unscripted? And they're just like, just keep it in the shot. Just keep it in the shot. Because I was like, that
dog. Daylight. We don't have time to reshoot this one, okay?
That dog is gonna get hit. Dog was fine, guys. Dog was fine. The kills in this movie are very interesting. And again, I watched the theatrical version. Did you watch? Which version of this did you watch?
I have seen the one with the footage added back in.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one that I just rewatched recently was the theatrical one.
Okay, because the way you would know is like all these people die in very distinct ways. So like,
not the hot dogs.
Oh god, the hot dog one's gross. Like the woman there's a woman who's in charge of all the Valentine decorations, and immediately with the heart, like they assume it's Harry, and he's like, hey, stop this Valentine's dance. And the mayor's like, we're not going to do that yet, but we got to investigate. I felt they were very slow to like action on this.
Yeah.
It's one cop for this entire small town, which I get, but like at the same time, I'm like, you just got a heart, a human heart. And then this
is going to make a terrible noise when I move it.
The coroner's like, not Harry Warden, he's back.
Yeah.
And we were, oh my god, cracking up. But, you know, the kill scenes are really interestingly done for something that you're like, it should be a minor guy with a pickaxe. Like, how exciting could these kills be? Like, we got somebody that has a pickaxe thrown on them, and then they're thrown into a dryer, and like their body's all bloody and crispy, and you can see like in the background, like as the police chief's walking back and forth, like there's laundry and it's like blood splattering it. Like, that was interestingly done. You don't see that very often. There's a guy thrown into boiling hot dog water,
like shoved face down in boiling hot dogs, and then like he gets shoved in a freezer. Or no, it's a refrigerator because somebody opens it later to get out beer,
and they don't even notice.
But I just hate how disgusting, because the heart gets boiled.
The hot dog water is disgusting.
And they like pull his heart out, and it just looks like the nastiest generic meat.
Yes, it's disgusting. Somebody gets nail gun to the head. R.I.P. Hollis. Like, loved him. Was very sad about that. Somebody gets shoved onto a their head gets shoved onto a I don't know, like a pipe.
The shower.
Yeah, the shower.
The shower head.
And that's how you know if you watched it, because my husband's like, no, they show that in graphic detail.
Yes. I just love the shot after, though, which is in both, where it's from behind her and, like, the water is going at her, and he's just like, oh, what?
Shocked.
I hate that scene, though, before, because, like, I crack up every time I watch it, because she's, again, it's like hey, you know, it gets me really hot and bothered. Coal dust. And they're just like in the room with all the dirty, like, mining
laundry. Yes.
And she's like, how do I get these down? He's like, just pull on that chain, baby. And, like, stuff falls down. And she's down there by herself. And she's just laying there and watching everything swaying, and then starts, like, freaking out and running around. And I'm like, yes, I too feel that way about laundry.
I'm also like, why wouldn't you just gone with him to get beer?
Well, she said she would go with him, and he's like, no, just stay right here.
I was like, that's not going to ruin the mood, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what's going to ruin the mood? Me left alone down here with my intrusive thoughts. Like, congrats. I'm not horny anymore. Now I am, like, freaking the F out.
Also, speaking of horny, let's talk about the love triangle that they have set up. So you have TJ, Sarah, and Axel, which...
What a stupid name.
What a stupid name.
I'm sorry, I know someone who has a child named Axel. They spell it differently.
So you have those three. TJ has left. He went to go find work somewhere else. He doesn't write Sarah. And the movie kind of sets up that TJ's like the outsider. He's ostracized. He was supposed to be in the mines. He left. Now he has to come back and work at the mines. He's very moody the entire time. He's always just looking longingly at Sarah and Axel, who Axel's just so like, they're supposed to be friends. Like, they were friends before that. Mm-hmm. And when Sarah was dating TJ before he left, and Axel is just such a dick. Like, he's such a dick throughout the entire thing. Like, he's just like, I'm going to go up to her and, like, love on her. I'm like, ew, like, quit.
Also translated across to the new one.
Yes. Yes. Same vibe, just very gross. And he's just like, you can't get in the way of this because, like, you left. I made my move. And it's just like, okay, Sarah obviously doesn't have an opinion one way or another of who she wants to be with.
Well, obviously not, Beth. She's a woman.
Also,
we don't have room for thoughts in our stupid little heads.
Women can't be in the mines, according to the small town. Like, that's...
Well, yeah, because the last one kept doing strip teases and she got murdered.
So, yeah, I do feel like this movie does a good job of capturing how dangerous the mines can be, which I felt like the newer remake does. Like yeah, but not the same vibe.
It's also set in, like, a very different decade.
Yes.
So I'm sure, like, you know, mines in the 60s and 80s.
Right.
Did not have all these safety precautions mines in, like, the 90s and 2000s did.
Very true. Very true. So, yeah, the kills are really interesting in this movie. I like the one that gets me is, and they show a lot of scenes from, like, the killer's perspective where you hear the breathing of, like,
yeah, it's very Darth Vader-y.
And the ones that got me was the hot dog water one was pretty gross.
It is disgusting.
And then the one that I was, like, not expecting is, like, they're trying to so they decide to take the party does get canceled, the Valentine's party, but it's, like, too little too late, because then the young adults are like, we're gonna go party in the mine. And it's also TJ's decision to do that.
Yeah.
Which I was like, TJ, you dumb mother effer. What are you thinking?
Well, so during all of that, I was like, I can't help but believe that, like, this is what, like, Pastor John Lithgow and Footloose thought would happen if, like, the kids in his town were allowed to dance and listen to rock and roll. It's like, no, they'll all end up in a mine and they'll get murdered. We have to cancel all dancing.
So they go to the mine to like dance, and you have everyone kind of paired up. TJ wears this blue chambray shirt, unbuttoned,
like a Stephen King dream. A working man wearing a blue chambray shirt
and an ascot like around his neck, and very broody. Yeah, Stephen King would have loved. I should read and see if he read like. I love this movie.
He's just every book has like a dude in a blue chambray work shirt.
Yeah, that's his vibe, man.
And then like a girl in a tight sweater,
a very tight
talking
sweater.
about her jahoobies.
That's right. So TJ is like, let's do this. And then like he has like a weird confrontation with Sarah and Axel. Axel goes outside to drink, and then they all decide to go down. And when I say they, I mean TJ's just kind of brooding. And then Sarah and like her BFF 5 and Hollis, who's like their friend. He's like chubby but like very cute, and I love his little mustache and glasses.
He's also like the least gross of all the guys.
Yes,
and like he treats his girlfriend pretty well.
Yes, and I was just like, I like him.
Yeah,
like and he's very like knowledgeable / kind of a leader in the mine. So he's like, yeah, I'll take you down to the mines. Like, and so they go into the little cart that leads you down.
Cart, yeah.
And all I kept thinking was about Donkey Kong Country, and I was like, man, this mine is not going very fast.
Like, I just kept thinking of Temple of Doom.
Yeah, even then I was like, holy crap, this is not a very fast mine cart.
I like it though, because they have that weird, it goes back and forth between the shot from like the front of it, like just going like through the dark mine slowly, and like you can only sort of see to the next bend. And then, like, back to them all, like, hayride style, like, canoodling on the little 2-sided cart. And they all blankets because it's cold.
And so, yeah, they go down to, like, explore the mine. And, like, Hollis, like, so they do what any slasher movie, like, it's very formulaic. Like, they're, like, spreading out. They're, not sticking together. 2 of them are, like...
what's over there? Oh, that's the abandoned part. We don't go over there anymore. We should go check it out, please. Like, that's literally what happened.
Yeah. 2 of them are like, we're gonna go make out in the... Just be back in 10 minutes. We're gonna go make out in the engineer's room. And that's the couple that they get like a corkscrew through them. And you don't see this, even though the director's like, I definitely filmed that shot of them dying. And I just said, when did they become dead?
For why no move more, husband?
Oh, God. But then as shit starts hitting the fan and like people are popping up dead at the party above the mine, TJ and Axel band together and they're like, we gotta go. And they change so quickly into mine coveralls so quickly. I'm like, like, and I'm like, you guys have time to change into coveralls?
Well, to be fair, like, you just put coveralls over your other clothes.
Yeah.
So it's just jumping into a pair of
also,
pants.
like, TJ still has his shirt all the way unbuttoned with his coveralls on
He's got an aesthetic. He's got to stay true to himself. He's got to do what he feels in his heart.
And so they go down, and they finally, like, find each other, and, like, Howard is down there, and Howard's, like, dumb funny, and he's gross, and he doesn't have like a girlfriend. He just breaks like the awkward sexual tension amongst everybody. And he's the one, like when the group starts separating and the killer's picking off everybody one by one, he's the one stuck with the girls, and he immediately like yeets away from them. And he's like, okay, bye. And they're like, Howard, no. And then he disappears. And then when they're leaving, that's the death that got me, because like
going up the ladder.
Yeah. They find his body and it's just decapitated. So it's just his body, like, and they're like, go back down. Because at this point, the killer.
Like, poor Hollis's girlfriend. I can't remember her name. She's not, who is she? It's not Patty. It's not Sylvia. Maybe it is Patty. Harriet?
And you think she's going to like get it on the ladder because of. Like she's
she's
so afraid of being on this ladder, and they're walking up this high ladder in like booted heels. So I'm just like, good on them. and they're trying to escape because they know that the Harry is in the mines, and then like you just see Howard's body fly down, and then my husband's like, we're dying because as they're getting down, he's like, Sarah just stepped on Howard's body. I was like, damn, Howard he's not even cold yet.
It's his fault for falling in her way.
Yeah. So, and then like everybody's kind of picked off one by one, unfortunately, to where it leaves just really TJ and Sarah, because you think Axel's dead, and you think that like what's her name, Hollis's girlfriend is dead.
Yeah, it's gonna bother me. I feel bad. I don't want to keep calling her Hollis's girlfriend. I gotta IMDb that.
But it kind of gets to the point where like it's just those two, and then
it is Patty.
Okay, Patty. And Patty, like, man, Patty puts up a good fight where it's just, like, her kill kind of comes out of nowhere, which sucks. It finally gets to the point where they unmask, like, Harry, and they realize it's not Harry at all. And that's, like, the big twist at the end. It's not Harry. It's, should I say it?
I mean, they got their spoiler warning.
Yeah, it's Axel. And so that is unique in slasher films because you don't normally see that. Like, usually,
which makes sense that they were like, oh, we're literally not telling anyone who the killer is until we like film that scene.
So Axel gets kind of trapped in a mine, which is sad because it's like that's how Harry becomes Harry. And then the police finally show up, and then you find out from like it very quickly, and that was something that like bothered me, was like kind of the exposition. It's like, we ran out of time and let's explain this really quickly. So we find out that Axel's dad was one of the supervisors and he was killed by Harry, and it traumatized him.
Well, Axel saw it happen.
Right.
So he like was traumatized in a lot of ways.
So nobody got there. You know, just feels like it should have been brought up at some point.
Today's episode has been brought to you by BetterHelp. Sponsor us.
Yeah, like you get all of that at the end, and then you find out that was something that bothered me with Sarah, which I was like, I guess if you've been dating him casually, it's like, she's like, I have to go see him because they say he's alive in this mine. And then he's like running around with his arm like busted off.
He like James Franco in, what was that?
27.
Yeah. The rock climbing guy movie. He like just amputates his own arm and is just like, tee hee hee, I'm in the mines. I only got one arm. He he he, bye bye.
Oh, the twist is that Harry's been dead for like 5 years. He's been dead all along. So like it was never Harry. Like everyone just assumed it was Harry because Axel wore the mask and did pickaxe stuff. So yeah, it's a solid slasher movie though. I feel like it was panned and it did not make money when it was first, but other than some of the acting is a little over the top and it's very Canadian.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey there, I just amputated my own arm and I'm gonna run deeper into the mines. I'll come back and get you again. Me and Harry are gonna come back, okay? So we'll see you next time.
But otherwise, I felt like it's a solid slasher movie. Like if you haven't seen it and you want to see just kind of like slightly different take on it,
I
like,
hope you've seen it because we just told you a lot of things about it. But
even if you're like not I'm sure there's something I forgot to discuss
for like some of our coworkers, as yet unnamed female coworker who we talk to about stuff all the time and male coworker are not big on like scary stuff like that. I feel like male coworker could watch this and would probably be like fine with it.
The kills are so over the top that other than the hot dog scene, because that's just gross, everything else is fine.
Yeah, and same with the other coworker.
Yeah.
I feel like they can both watch this and be
theatrical version,
right.
You don't see much of anything for kills. So
yeah. And coworker Scissorhands probably like for the last hour has been plotting our death because we made fun of him earlier and is now like gonna go Harry Warden on us. But it'll be like my former friend's podcast.
So yeah, and then getting to the 2009 one, I would say this is the superior film. Like,
Agreed.
it took everything that was good about the first movie, including the plot twist.
Which then, because I remember, like, I saw this one first, and then I watched the old one, but, like, the person I went with had seen the original, and they were like, oh, like, I really thought that it was gonna go, like, the same way, and so, like, they flim-flammed me on this.
So yeah, Jensen
Axel.
So Axel is still in. So there are still very similar names, but they got rid of, like, Hollis is not in this one.
No.
Sad. Jensen Ackles plays Tim instead of Tom instead of TJ. Kerr Smith plays Axel, and instead of dating Sarah, he is married to Sarah.
Well, at the beginning of the movie, it shows Tom and Sarah together as a couple, and Axel is dating someone else. And then after that, when Tom has left, so this was like when TJ left to find work other places, Tom leaves, and in that time that he's gone, Axel and Sarah have gotten married, and Axel has become the town sheriff.
Gross.
Scumbag.
So this is very similar premise. On Valentine's Day in 1997, 6 miners are trapped underground in the small mining community of Harmony. By the time researchers reach the miners, they only find comatose Harry Warden still alive. Investigation said that Warden killed the other miners to conserve oxygen. So no cannibalism in this one.
Right. And this is all revealed through, I love this exposition at the beginning because it's all like sound bites, like it's from news reports, and it's like newspapers flashing across the screen, and you're seeing like pictures of them in the mines, and you're hearing like the local news covering it, and you hear somebody be like, he killed them to save his own god dang oxygen. And then like you see like a really sad Jensen Ackles because they
blame him because he forgot to vent the methane line. So again, same premise of like it collapsed because nobody's paying attention. This one is a little more, it feels less like,
it's not as hokey.
But it feels less like yes, this could happen in real life type of thing, instead of like, I cannibalized 6 of my friends down in the mines. So then 1 year later, Warden awakens and starts murdering people. So he actually starts just randomly murdering people.
So scary when the nurse is like there, and it's so stupid though, because she like doesn't notice that there's not a body in the bed, even though she's standing there like checking the drip bag next to it. And then she looks down and is like, and walks out of the little curtained off section, which is also weird. Like, why isn't he in a private room? Why is he just in like a random like ICU bed? And then in the background, you see into that different one, and he's just sitting on the edge of the bed. And I'm like, gross.
I love movies that like set you up for not jump scares, but then you still get scared anyway.
Yeah, well, I hate jump scares, but yeah, like just that you can clearly see in the background, because later in the grocery store that happens too. And then, like, the person on the screen does not. This is when I want to go full, like, I hate the scary movies, but when she's like, did you get that on film? Yes, I got that on film! And she's, like, yelling at the screen about it.
So, yeah, Warden wakes up, and then,
it's like a literal bloodbath.
Yeah, a literal bloodbath. And this is 1 year later. So then Tom, his girlfriend Sarah, their friends Irene and Axel, and other teenagers are partying inside the mine, and Warden attacks them with a pickaxe. Sarah, Irene, and Axel escape, but Tom is left behind with Warden. Sheriff Burke, who is played by Tom Atkins, arrives and shoots Warden, but before he can kill Warden, he staggers way deeper into the mine. And of course, Tom is there and he's very traumatized.
Yes, and that's like, because he's literally walking up to him. They're face to face when like the sheriff is like, he's like, they shoot him. He's like, stay down, Warden, stay down. And he keeps getting up and he's like nose to nose with him. And like Tom's just like kneeling on the ground staring at him, like accepting his fate. And then he takes off.
So Tom leaves, comes back 10 years later, and things have changed. Can you just imagine, like, you're blamed for this mining accident and basically blamed for creating this monster of Harry Warden, and then like you almost got dead.
Yeah. Well, it's also he's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't, because he comes back because he's majority share owner in the mine. Like his dad died, so he inherited the mine, and he's like, I want nothing to do with this. I'm selling it. That's the only reason I'm back. And everyone's just like, you can't sell the mine.
Right. So Axel's the town sheriff. He married Sarah, but's having an affair because he's a scumbag. I feel bad because I like Kerr Smith as like an actor, but I hate him in this movie.
Scumbag. He's also a dick in Final Destination, so he just has one of those faces.
Yeah. So Tom is staying at a motel, and
that scene when he gets to the motel is like so. That's when the dog is running. And he's just like, hey, like, is Mail still here? And the owner's like, I hope not. He's been dead for 5 years. He's like, I'll give you back your dog if you give me a room. And you just hear, like, people boning down in the room next to him as he's walking by. It has, and I try not to view this as, like, Dean Winchester, but he has some very Dean Winchester moments in it. And he's, like, walking by and he stops because he hears it and he, like, sort of backs up. And then walks by again.
You know, I get it though. Like when you're in a TV show filming for like long periods of time, it's probably hard to turn that character off.
I think there's like a lot of similarities too, though, between like Dean and Tom.
Very,
so I get
like
it,
prodigal
both,
son coming home,
and like they both have like they both have like a chip on their shoulder about it, and they have like bad relationships with their dad, and they like feel like they don't really belong anywhere, and they like can't put down roots. So like I get it.
So yeah, very similar kind of plot where all of a sudden coming back into town. This time, the murderer, Harry, kind of picks off people much quicker. And in the 1981 movie, they're like, Thursday, February 12th, like Friday, February 13th. Mm-hmm. This movie doesn't do that. Like, you're just like, okay, it's around Valentine's Day. And you immediately kind of like, it has murder mystery to it because Tom, like, when these murders are happening around them, like, Tom, like, tries to find Sarah and reconnect with her and explain, like, why he was gone and stuff like that. And it has very, what I love slasher movies that have, like, let's solve this mystery together. Let's not leave it to law enforcement because they're incompetent. We got to solve this on our, like, it's affecting our gang. We got to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's all of Scream movies.
Yeah. I think when like in the initial like Harry Warden is killing people in the mine beginning of the movie, which is more of the stupid like we were shot in 3D when he throws the axe at the truck while they're leaving and they like have abandoned Tom. But the girl who gets the like shovel through her face and then like the top half of her face slides down the shovel is one of my favorite kills in this.
It's a good one.
The very first one is so stupid because it's the pickaxe that like pops the guy's eyeball out.
Oh, and the eyeball's in 3D.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. It's
so dumb.
Like, I get it. Like, and that's actually critics have talked about, like, in terms of they're like the acting's like, They said it was a little wooden, but they're like, the special effects, like, listen, if you're going to do 3D, you got to, like, go all the way. And these are going all the way. So there's some critics that were like, love it. And some of them who were like,
not enough slinkies popping out of boxes towards my face. 2 out of 5.
I guess, you know, again, this follows pretty standard, like picking off one by one. There's a really tense scene in the grocery store where Sarah and Megan are being like stalked by the murderer, and you're just like, oh god.
Yeah, I hate that moment because they're like doing their thing, and then they hear something and they look at the front, and like the front door is just open, and they're like, we're closed, but you don't see anybody. And I'm like, I hate that. But yeah, that just like it's like slowly panning across an aisle, and you see the miner standing at the other end, and then it catches up to the girls, and then it backs up past that aisle, and he's gone. Like a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. And the hearts are still in boxes, in Valentine boxes. They're not as fancy as the 1981, but they're still pretty fancy. And there's a lot of like kind of red herring moments where you think it's gonna be Axel because Tom takes Sarah to the cab. He was gonna show Sarah, but he doesn't get like a chance to do that. That in Tom's like bang cabin that he like takes Megan to have his affair. Axel's cabin. So Tom finds this, was going to tell Sarah, doesn't get a chance to. Sarah still gets to go to the cabin, sees evidence of the affair, and was like, oh.
Closet full of like shitty Valentine's heart boxes.
And then she finds all these heart boxes, which are what the human hearts are being lovingly given to people. And so she's like, oh my God, my husband is a murderer.
Right. And then they have that, I don't like the Spider-Man meme of like pointing. I almost called it like a thing that I don't want to say anymore. That's like derogatory, but like.
Yes, the Spider-Man. Yes.
And it's like, he's the killer because he's a scumbag and he's cheating on you.
Right.
He's the killer because of this. No way. He's the killer because he killed Megan. And she goes, wait a minute. How'd you know Megan was dead?
Right. So Tom inadvertently gives himself away, and then they give some backstory that essentially like Tom was in a mental institution for 10 years and was really traumatized.
It was 7 years.
7 years. But was really traumatized by Harry's death. And so he
for sure has like a psychotic break, because then you see him, he truly believes that it's someone else. Like he is seeing the miner, and that makes me so sad when he's just like, shoot him, he's right there, shoot him, and they're just staring at him and there's like nothing. And then you see him sort of like having that separation of like the like cut scenes of him like pulling the mask off,
right,
and then like coming back to himself, and then you see like him like those like walls slam down, and then he's just got this look in his eye, and Axel's just like, Harry, is that you living inside of Tom this whole time?
So yeah, this was a good plot twist as well. You know, it's not great that they use mental illness as kind of the like what like.
Yeah, not like everybody who suffers trauma goes and kills people.
No, not at all. So it's not great, but in terms of like, if we want to make it different from the original,
yeah.
Like,
and I'm sure a lot of people went in thinking Axel was probably the killer, and he's certainly smarmy, and you don't like him, so you want it to be him.
Yes.
You brought up the body in the dryer. That's in this one too, and it's like super gross. And then her kid is like hiding. Do you remember this? And like the girl cop goes inside, the female officer of the law, goes inside the house and is like looking around. The kid like crawls out really fast from behind the couch, and it scares the shit out of me because then he's just staring. And it's like this little blonde haired kid, and he's like, and he's just staring at you from behind the couch where he crawled out really fast. I was like, oh my God, that's like a demon child. I wish the miner would have got him. Jesus. So yeah, those are both in there, and it's like the dryer is disgusting because there's like smoke coming out of it when they open it. Yeah. I really hate like the trucker who gets murdered at the hotel. He's sleeping with Irene, who was Axel's girlfriend when they were younger,
right? And
like she's very empowered and good for her. Like she looks up at the mirror on the ceiling and is like screaming, "Oh my God," while they're having sex. And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh my God, I look so hot today." And I was like, "Yes, girl, go ahead." And Then he's like a total douche canoe to her, and he like throws money at her, and she's like, I'm not a hooker. He goes, now you are. And I was like, absolutely not. We do not treat sex workers that way. That is not okay. I hate you. You deserve everything that came to you. And good for her. She like didn't even waste time. She put on her shoes and she followed him outside butt naked, screaming at him in like the parking lot because he was filming her without her consent. Disgusting. That's what happens to you. You get murdered with a pickaxe.
It's fair. Very fair.
So yes, I did not like the casual, gross disrespect of sex workers, even though she is not a sex worker, but still.
Right, just in
and I don't like the implications that because you suffer a trauma, you're gonna go like murder people.
And again, the love triangle, like I get the love triangle, and it does make for this one handles it slightly better, I feel like, than the other movie, but the love triangle's not my favorite. It's not the most well done.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I get that like you're sad that your girlfriend is married to another dude, but it's been 10 years. What did you think was going to happen?
7 years.
7 years. but other guy, even TJ, and they're like, it's been a decade. What did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
Like they weren't going to move on.
Women aren't people, Beth. They're property, obviously.
So
there's also the other kill. Well, it's not even a kill. Like the other stupid 3D gimmick that happened in this that I feel like we have to mention because we talk about Final Destination so much. Is the tree branch that comes through the car.
yeah. I forgot about that.
And I was like, it's not enough that Kersmith is in this movie, but you had to do us dirty like that with the tree branch as well. I still can't drive behind like freaking logs or pipes on a truck. I just saw a like random like on my feed Instagram post of like a girl, and she's like, you don't see her. She's like in the car and she's just like filming out the window, and it's rainy and there's like a truck in front of them, but it's like kind of far away. And she pans over to her husband who's like white knuckling it and just looks so pissed. And she's like, how's it going? He goes, not good. And she like zooms in and you see that it's a logging truck. And so he's like staying really far back. And she's like, if you don't understand this reference, you're too young.
Look, that's fair. Like, accidents happen, man. That's not good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you guys like, you know, spooky horror movies that you want to watch, there's also, like, if we're going to talk about other Valentine movies, there's Valentine with David Boreanaz, which
yes,
I would say My Bloody Valentine might be the superior film to those, but
also because it is like similar, and I kept thinking of it, even down to like the weird tattoo. I have to find it. There's an episode of The X-Files that is like,
is it My Bloody Valentine themed?
Ish. There's like a guy stalking Scully.
Oh,
and he
okay.
keeps like cutting out people's hearts. And
creepy.
Like, yeah, hang on.
Yeah, and then in terms of like thinking about slasher movies, so obviously, unfortunately, this movie didn't do well in 1981's. It was panned. It since then has had sort of a cult following and reassessment of like, it's not so bad. With the way slasher films kind of went in and out of style, I feel like this movie never got really due credit where credit is due. Is it the best slasher movie ever made? No. But is it the worst? Absolutely not. Mother's Day is the worst.
That's funny. It's Milagro, which is season 6, episode 18.
All right.
John Hawkes is in it.
Okay.
He's like the guy, like John Hawkes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's a guy, they're like working it's like a Monster of the Week episode. It's not tied into the normal arch of like the government conspiracy stuff. They're working a case where like there's a bunch of murders and like the hearts have been removed. And there's like a writer who lives next door to Mulder who's writing a novel about the murders, but they're writing it before the murders happen.
Oh.
And Scully like weirdly is drawn to this writer and he's like obsessed with her. And so watching this, I kept thinking of that episode.
So yeah, if you guys are looking for like something spooky to watch with a significant other or by yourself, it don't matter. Like Valentine's Day is all about love.
Feelings are for chumps. don't have them.
You know, check these movies out.
Oh God, your goblin door is open again.
Just a smidge. I will close it.
We're almost done, Slender Man. Stay in there. He's like, heard you guys were talking about my Bloody Valentine. Let me come on out.
That's my favorite.
Give me 10 minutes to unfold my giant body.
Oh, God. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good holiday, you know, whether you're spending it with yourself or with other people, you know, just celebrate love and be safe. Don't take a pickaxe to anybody. And please don't open random boxes of chocolates that aren't cellophaned because they might have a human heart in them.
And also share your location with your friends. And
don't go having sex in mines, man.
Send pictures of your date to someone in case you get murdered. The black lung is not sexy. What other PSA can I give right now?
I'm trying to think. Black lung's not sexy. Separating from people if you do happen to go party in mines, like not.
Don't let a man
safe.
take you to a third location ever.
No. And
they know breathe wide.
The world may never know. I need more sleep. Just period. Need more sleep. Yeah. So yeah, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I hope you guys have a good one. And as always, I'd like to thank our spooky sponsor.
Thanks, spooky sponsor.
Happy V-Day. And yeah, stay spooky, friends.